Good
evening,
everyone. Hi, welcome.
Thanks for joining us.
Can everyone hear us? Give a thumbs up if you can hear us. That is fantastic. So wonderful to see you all. Hi, Mimi. Hi, Annie.
Hi, Isabel. Annie.
So wonderful to see you all. Welcome, welcome. And I'm going to be admitting people as I talk, so forgive me for, I am a woman. I can multitask, so I can do two things at the same time. So I'm going to welcome you all and thank you so much for joining us on Cue at Center Stage. Woohoo! For those of you who don't know me, really? Are there people out there who don't know me? Okay. Well, my name is Daniela Crankshaw.
And my name is Grant, and we will be your hosts tonight.
Yep, and Grant is my partner in crime, my partner in everything. Oh, he even loves me. What can I say? So
Lucky.
sweet. Oh, get a room, you two. So
thanks for all jumping in tonight. We have Rachel and Nitzan, our guests, who are joined us already, but we'll be talking to Nitzan first, and then we'll talk to both of them towards the end of the show, like we normally do with our questions. And
yeah,
I guess the updating is how is your lockdown going? You have a thing up, a finger down?
Down. No. Ick.
If you're ever beginning to think that this thing we might see the end of this thing, then relax, you are not alone. Or should that be a panic, you are not alone. This too shall pass. So take a deep breath. In the meantime, we're calling it the schmuck wave cycle. This is how it works. Every time the infection rate improves, and we mean goes down, some genius politician who magically remains employed through all this claims it's all over and orders us schmucks back to work or play. Invariably, the infection rate deteriorates and we means goes up. And said politician then blames us all for not behaving and orders us back home and off work. And there we have to sit and watch the news and wait for the cycle to begin all over again. Some theatre news, more importantly. We are really hoping that the fact that we've built our theatre in the space required will be enough to convince our landlords to let us continue using it as a theatre, because there's not much more you can do with a theatre than but have a theatre.
Absolutely. Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. Yes, yes. Regardless of the pending situations, we are planning to host small crowds by mid-November, which would mean basically the same show, but for smaller audiences, and also activities, etc., for kids who are all going nuts. So stay tuned to hear about those offerings. I was thinking it's about high time that Daniela did some singing for us. So Benji Lovett, when he was here, he really enjoyed our little warm-up before the show. And I'd like to recommend that we all go on a hunger strike until she announces a show.
Really?
Yeah, quite agreed.
That's news to me. All right, well, all I can say is, regardless of the singing and the shows, which we will do eventually, I promise, we are always committed to keeping you involved, entertained, and connected. So follow us on Facebook, join our newsletter on our website, and stay up to date with all the goings on. Otherwise, you're going to miss me singing. And then what's the point? I mean, really?
And just a quick reminder, this is a pay-as-you-can event.
Yeah, we kind of, if you feel like you want to contribute, that's great. And if you don't, or if you want to contribute but can't, it's absolutely fine. We're all in the same boat. So just stay, enjoy, and be with us.
And if you have any friends in the finance ministry, please forward them our email. Thank you very much.
Yes, because the help that we've received is like zero.
Yes.
Yes.
Right. So.
Yeah. So let's get on and give a warm welcome to our first guest, Nitzan.
Sitzer.
Hey, you can unmute yourself now. So we can hear you as well as see you. There you are.
Papa, can you hear me? Papa, can you hear me?
We can hear you, honey. We can. Wow.
I am officially unmuted. Hello, friends.
Hello. Now, let me explain. Nitzan is a multi-talented actor, writer, and producer. His body of work over the last 30 years includes Jack Sattleberg in Hamossad, Little Fables and Kuparashit, among many, many more. Some of you may remember Nitzan at Center Stage when he performed a wonderful family show called The Knick-Knack Nook.
The sun in the sky is rising on high.
There we go. There we go.
The first time I saw
Soundtrack.
Nitzan perform, I was reminded of when I was a kid, and I would listen to records of Danny Kaye.
Danny Kaye, that's the one. Yes.
The energy and athleticism that you brought to that performance scared me, astounded me, and it was infectious.
Totally infectious. Outstanding, Nitzan. Outstanding.
My pleasure, my pleasure. By the way, there is a story. I was performing with the Colorado Symphony Orchestra, and after the show, the conductor came up to me and she said, "Listen, you're wonderful," and was very complimentary. And she said, "I am about to produce a show all about Danny Kaye, and I couldn't help but think of you." A short time later, I was going to rent a room, so I went to that apartment to check it out, and in the bedroom, on the wall, was an autographed picture of Danny Kaye.
Oh, get out of here.
Oh,
Now
wow.
you're scaring me.
So Danny Kaye is a very, very close and dear inspiration.
Okay.
So
I'm just
I
using him.
cannot say enough to even be mentioned in the same sentence with him as.
Well, it's true. I mean, you embody so many of those incredible talents and characteristics that
Yeah.
it's
Absolutely.
uncanny and it's wonderful. So kudos to you.
Yeah.
But I want to show people some pictures
Yeah,
from the
gotta see
Knick-Knack
the one.
Nook and
Yes.
a little video. So
Yeah.
bear with me while we do this. So here are some. There we go. Some photographs of you at Center Stage
The infamous Knick-Knack Nook.
at the Knick-Knack Nook, and then I'm going to
Not
show you
bad.
Yes, that is him doing a handstand.
at the bottom. That is him doing a
small
handstand.
representation of the amount of
Unbelievable.
energy.
So now have a quick listen to this.
Hello! Hey, I haven't seen you here before. Oh, well then allow me to introduce you to my wonderful little store, the Knick-Knack Nook. Ta-da! So, are you looking for something unique? Perhaps even a bit antique? Oh, if so, come on in and let the festivities begin.
Oh,
There you go.
such a mensch. He's such a mensch.
He's such a mensch.
Yes.
Now tell me something, Nitzan. Between mime, storytelling, dancing, singing,
Gymnastics.
writing, acting, do you have a favorite discipline?
Wow. Yes. All of the above.
Seriously,
Literally
not-
all of the above. I have never, whenever I was miming, I would make sounds. Whenever I was singing, I would dance and move. Whenever I was acting, I was being overly expressive. So there was always this mix. Even my mother, she'll put, food on the plate and I'll mix it all up. So it's inherent in my character to take all of the above and mix it all up. I love it.
Fantastic.
Where were you born, Nitzan? Where did you grow
I
up?
was born in a little shtetl near Tel Aviv. And at the tender age of a little bit less than a year, we moved to the States. And that's where I got my formal upbringing. But at the age of 13, we moved back here.
Wow.
And it was probably due to that, because I didn't have any language. And at the time, there was an incredible mime, Hanoch Rosen, who made it very popular. So that was one of the compellings to step into mime, was that I just didn't have any other way to express, because I couldn't really speak Hebrew. So it was much easier for me to do it in mime.
Wow. And then, that's Tel Aviv, life in Tel Aviv.
Yes, I'm in the heart of Tel Aviv.
When did you know that you wanted to be a performer? I mean,
Oh.
have you just been doing it all your life, or is it?
Well, I have literally been doing it all my life. In fact, again, I'll bring up my mother. Oh my goodness, my mother.
Your mother can
She's
show
here
you.
on my shoulder. She says that when I was in her belly, that she was constantly singing and humming and laughing. So it's just so inherent in me that's just there was never a question. That's what I'm going to do when I grow up. And as a child, I think my first professional production when I was 8 or 9, I was one of the children in Showboat. We performed for 2 or 3 months on this massive stage in Houston, Texas. You know, thousands of people every night. So it just felt, backstage always felt home to me.
Wow.
I love it.
Brilliant. Wow.
Amazing.
Sounds like
And
amazing.
then, but you went to a special school here in Israel for the arts, right?
Yes, I was in Tel Mayalin, High School of the Arts.
Right.
Although again, because I didn't have the language, I constantly needed to find a way to, so during that I was going to street theater, I was clowning and miming and just kind of, not necessarily so much into the schoolwork, but definitely performing at every opportunity and on every occasion, but yes.
And was the school like, I mean, for me, like one of the most, yes, I grew up on Fame, and Fame made a real mark on me. And I always wanted to know, is that close to reality of like what an art school is like? I mean,
well, the truth of the matter is that Fame came out, the series came out the year I started TET, 9th grade. So there was this, I mean, there were thousands of kids lined up to go to audition because of that.
absolutely.
And I would say that Israel and New York are very different, completely different worlds. But there was what I experienced in Israel. There was a bit of too much of a snobbishness about it. That we're in the theater, and there's that kind of click. There was too much stress and not enough just the joy of expression and creativity. Kind of, I think some of it got bogged down by grading and things like that. So
Right.
Whenever in much later years, when I started teaching, that became completely, it's all about just how do you find your true expression and et cetera. But back in those high school days, I think the competition element was, for me, was a bit difficult and not to my liking.
And you mentioned Hanoch Rosen. Did you ever actually get a chance to work with him? You did?
I did. In fact, when I was in 10th grade, he was performing because I was in the Mariv LaNoir Israeli talent show, and I won most beloved by the audience. So I gained kind of a following, and I was on the cover. So he was performing. There was like a teen village back in those days. It was very, very big. So they had me perform especially for him.
Wow.
And it was one of the, at that time, top moments of my life to have that opportunity. It was, I was doing the robot back then, one of the first other than him.
Wow.
And so he was very impressed.
I'm sure he was. I have no doubt.
I see.
Yes.
Well, we were looking through your body of work that you've done, and I see you're doing a lot of commercials, some interesting commercials in English and also the English language.
I'm just going to show a few of those videos right now, if you don't mind. It's just a few little sections. I'm not going to show the whole thing because they're long and we have sort of limited time.
Our time is limited. Hurry now, hurry.
Hurry.
All right. So hang on there. Hang on there. Here we go.
Here we go. Let's see. We've seen him. We've seen that. Oh.
Medical records.
Ooh, finally! I'm getting personal attention and care! I'm feeling much calmer now. Hey, maybe I should add yoga to my daily routine. Video.
Yes, yes.
Yep, there's one of them, and I'm trying to get to the next one. No, hold on. Technical difficulties. There we go.
Ah, yes, a musical.
This shows another aspect of your performance, Nitzan.
I was with my wife in bed, getting ready to say goodnight. But then began the argument, who's going to get up to turn off the light. That's when I had an idea before things got out of hand. What if I could speak to the light and it would understand? And now 2 years and 17
Amazing.
Yes, there is so much creativity. I must say that it's that niche that has kept me going in Israel, because otherwise I would not have been able to
I was
survive.
going to say, it's part of the comments here that it's one of the, that thank goodness it's an important revenue stream for actors in Israel, because there isn't a lot of opportunity for English actors or English speaking actors in Israel. So you've really done well in a lot of those.
I've been able to carve out a niche, and because of the high tech, there's so much high tech and so much going on that it's all for, the world and scientific stuff. I'm just about to do some kind of medical gig and et cetera, et cetera. So pretty much every month I'm doing 2 or 3 of those, and that's the bread and butter, and voiceovers.
Well done.
Absolutely. We're going to come to the voiceovers right now, but I think that it's important, I don't know. I mean, I've got my friend Annie here who was in drama school with me, and I know that at drama school it was kind of like, we were going to do theater. We were very snobby about doing theater, and everything else was kind of like, but honestly, as you said, the commercials and the voiceovers, that's the bread and butter, especially in a country where you are battling with the language. And even if you have Hebrew, like I do, and I speak like an Israeli, but I still have this very, very slight accent. But I don't have the confidence to do it in Hebrew.
Yeah.
I
have.
And you have.
If I have a Russian accent, that's not a Russian accent, it's a Brooklyn Jewish accent, but never mind. See, I can't even do a Russian accent. If I had a Russian accent, I could perform in the theater, but for some reason, an American accent, which I even have just kind of a slight, it already creates some kind of stigma, and they just won't have it.
I know. It's
so
really,
that kind of was off limits. Although I did once do a show with the Israeli Opera. I was the storyteller of the children's production. It was all the operatic stars there, but it was for families of Cinderella. So I was the storyteller.
Oh, wow.
So I actually had this massive panic attack before one of the first shows, because for me as well, Hebrew was always this something out of reach. And I had this full-on panic attack, but luckily I'm a very meditative soul, so I was able to get beyond it and have one of the best shows of my life. But
you did the Knick-Knack Nook in Hebrew as well.
I originally did the Knick-Knack. That was my breakthrough. And in fact, someone from Habima came and saw it, and he absolutely loved it. And he said, I'm taking you next week to meet the head of Habima. Next day, this same person passed away.
Oh, no.
And that has been kind of this recurring theme in Israel of people promising something, or this opportunity arises and then something kooky happens. But you fall, you have to get back up. So I'm still rising to the occasion.
Well, I feel like it's almost you were waiting with that to come and do the English version, because we forced you to translate it into English.
Yes,
to perform it in English and do it at center stage. And for those of you who never saw it, I'm going to bring Nitzan back with the show. It's billed as a children's show, but it is absolutely wonderful. Just to watch, Nitzan is absolutely mesmerizing. So he's really a pleasure to watch, and I highly recommend it, not because it's going to be at my theater, although that's a big thing for me, but because Nitzan honestly is an incredible performer. So besides the commercials, you've been doing voiceovers, right?
The voiceovers, yes.
I haven't done much voiceover work, but I was going to say to you, when you go in for a voiceover, is there a director, or is it, or you sort of to play?
It depends. Once again, Israel that likes to yalla, hodgepodge, do as much as you can, as quickly as you can. So in a sense, fortunately and unfortunately, a lot of it, I'm self-directing.
Right.
Now I happen to have that kind of I'm a Virgo, so I'm very critical of my performance. So I can do it, but there are times when I hear other performances, I'm like, oh. But a lot of it, because they're trying to do lots of work quickly, it's not. It depends on what it is. I was in the first feature-length animation, Israeli animation film, and there, of course, we had a director, etc. And I just did, oh my goodness, 180 episode French series of one of the best animated series, and there wasn't. And I played 4 different characters, all completely over the top animals.
Well, I have to admit that I saw an old show reel of yours of voiceovers, and I had to pinpoint who you were because you were so good at, some voiceover artists, they're the same, well, not the same, but you can easily identify them. But you were really, each character had its own,
I did 26
voice,
voices.
and it was amazing.
It was basically me and another guy, Zvika Foreman, who is the foremost. He's awesome. He was my inspiration. He, in fact, opened the door for me. But I did 26 voices. I think it was out of necessity because at the time, this was, I think 10 years ago, and that was one of my first gigs. It literally dove in to the deep end. There was just there were no other voice actors. So I had to do it, and we were all happy, and it was
amazing. But then you also, I'm going to ask you this last question, and I think it's a nice one. I know, but we're going to bring you back. It's not the last question. But the part of Jack Saddleberg in Hamosad. So I'm going to share with you just the opening of the trailer of Hamosad.
Yes.
And you can tell us all about it in a second, I'm sure. So hang on a second. Let's get you.
If nobody's
Meet Voka, an amazing inventor.
We love you, Voka.
Yeah.
By the way, that commercial won best commercial.
Here you go.
In the world of terror,
The whole world is rigged to blow.
world,
World.
never mind.
Never mind.
Only one man
So funny. I love that. World.
I waited 4 years for that role. He auditioned me. I think it took 4 years for him from the audition that apparently he later said that, he knew that I was it. But there I was completely loony and off the top, but I ended up playing like the serious role of the movie.
Absolutely.
And by the way, that's the number 2 grossing film of all time of Israel, or I think it might be even number 1 by now.
Wow.
It grossed one of the highest grossing.
What was that experience like, working on a real sort of budget movie?
Well, it was, it was as close to Hollywood, because when I was living in LA, I wasn't inclined at all to step. I had the opportunity, but I went off and lived with some Native Americans and was doing sweat lodges and such for 6 months. But that's a whole nother subject matter.
Yes.
sounds like a show.
It was awesome. I mean, it was basically, there's a lot of very famous people, and just playing in a movie is, I love the sets. And in fact, those commercials that I do are very much like mini movies oftentimes.
Yeah.
There's a little movie in 3 minutes or 4 minutes, and I just love sets because there's just such a clear sense of camaraderie. We have a limited amount of time. Everyone's focused, everyone's doing their job, and it's just an awesome environment. And and of course, I always show up with my amazing green drink.
Yes, you do.
Which almost immediately becomes the focal point of discussion about.
Of course it does. Nitzan, of course it does.
Yes.
Nitzan, thank you so much. We're going to bring you back at the end.
Yeah.
So
There's so much more to tell.
I know, but we only have a limited time.
I know.
But it was so wonderful to get to know you better, and now we're going to get to know Rachel a bit better. But thank you. So stick around, Nitzan. Don't go away.
Okay, I'm here.
All right. So I'm now going to bring in Rachel.
Oh,
All the way from the UK.
I'm exhausted from the journey now.
You what?
I'm exhausted from the journey.
Yeah, I wish. If there was a real journey, Annie would be here. Trust me. She's in the UK. Look at her thumbs up. Absolutely. So let's introduce Rachel to you guys. So Rachel does so much with her life that it makes me exhausted just reading her bio. Okay. An award-winning stand-up comedian, writer, and director, Rachel is the only practicing Orthodox Jewish woman in the mainstream UK comedy circuit. She currently co-hosts a chat show podcast called You Talking to Me, and is the resident MC for Comedy Upstairs at Adam and Eve, a long-established new material night for professional comics. I haven't finished.
So much.
Okay.
We only have half an hour.
Rachel has her own solo comedy shows, is a guest on BBC London Radio 4, 2, 3. I read all these numbers. Essex and Salford City Radio. She's a skilled improviser, singer, producer, MC, performer, writer, and director with over 50 theatre credits to her name, including everything from touring shows to West End productions and more and more and more. Oy vey. Is there anything that Rachel can't do? I mean, honestly.
I can't add up, I can't take away, I can't divide, I can't multiply.
I leave that to the other people, that's all right. Amazing, amazing. So really a warm welcome to you to Centre Stage on Q. We are thrilled to have you here. And I have to explain that normally we have local talent.
Correct.
But Rachel is here as our special guest from the UK because Rachel was meant to come to Centre Stage and do a comedy performance. And then this, can I say it? Excuse my language,
No.
but this bitch called Rona showed herself to us and said, hello. And we said, no. And she closed us all down. But let's go back to Rachel. And Rachel, where did you actually start? I mean, for many years you worked in social care. So how did you get into theatre and comedy?
Well, as a young kid, I loved anything to do with theatre and performance. And I was so excited you were talking about Fame because that is my era as well.
Yeah.
I was obsessed with Fame, with the show Fame. And I always imagined myself to be Doris Schwartz. Of course, like the bubbly, slightly, you know, not skinny, Jewish, funny character. And that's who I was in my imagination. And I was, the school that I went to a regular primary school, but it was a Jewish school. And it had, where I grew up in Essex, performing arts was like a thing that lots of people did. So I went to ballet and tap and disco classes because it was the 70s and the 80s. And I was involved in community theatre, and I was involved in a very big show that was put on by my school. Every year, the Parent Teachers Association would put on a proper big show in a theatre as a fundraiser because they happened to have amongst the parent body a West End director, a West End musical director, and whatever. And so they would have an adults cast and a kids cast, and it was like a properly big deal. And when I was 11, I got to be in that show, and that really like gave me a taste for it. I also was always a singer. I was in choirs all the way through school and outside of school, and that's something that carried on through my high school experience. And I loved theatre and comedy, and I had a few friends where we used to always, sometimes during the school day, disappear off to go and watch stuff. We used to sneak into the Comedy Store long before we were legally able to do that in London. And it was always this thing that seemed something that someone like me would never be able to do as a job. My family on the whole, they're not a theatre-y family. Then we don't have like hundreds. I have one performer in my family, my aunt.
Yes.
But she's very different. She's a singer-songwriter, and her medium is punk and reggae. And mine was always character performance and you know, that kind of singing and acting. And then so it was always like my side gig, my thing I did for my own fun. So I put it to one side. I did lots of other things. I trained in youth and community work and social care. I was working with young offenders. I worked in units for young people who'd committed some quite serious crimes and some who were out of mainstream education because of maybe lesser reasons. There was everything from family problems or being a refugee from quite a scary scenario, so post-traumatic young people, kids who set fire to people's hair, like you can't imagine. And on the side, I was in a theatre company, and I was writing some of the stuff and directing some of the stuff and performing, and I became part. This is such a boring long story, but I became part of through that theatre company. Myself and 6 friends formed a girl band, and we performed as this girl band, Kolsheva. That was our name, like the voice of 7, because there's 7 of us, and we did vocal harmony. So this was always the thing that I was doing on the side. And then,
but then you actually took your experience in social care, and that came out in a play that you wrote called Staff Room.
That's right.
Which was the winner of the most audience recommended show at the Camden Fringe, right? Mm-hmm. And it went on to have a West End run in around 2012, is that right?
Yeah, that's right, yeah. and we did a little tour.
Right, fantastic. And then in 2014, you wrote and directed an Insomniac's Guide to Ambulances,
Yeah.
which also had a West End run, absolutely. Are there more plays on the horizon? Because this was like in 2012, 2014. I know you've written your solo act, but are there any theatre productions that you're planning to do? And
do you know what? I'm always planning, and it's interesting that you ask me that, because no one's asked me that for a long time. And when I left all that kind of work, social care fully, about 11 years ago, to concentrate full time on this, I came to a bit of a crossroads. And just during the last few weeks of lockdown, I've started to think about writing plays, just because I had 2 unfinished pieces when my comedy career took off. I never expected that my little tentative steps into stand-up were going to lead to it being my actual full-time job. Like, no one is more shocked about it than I am. It was my absolute dream as a kid, and but I'm still surprised by it every day now. So there were 2 unfinished plays I had, and my medium that I really enjoyed the most was immersive theatre, where it's very interactive with the audience and they play an active role in whatever happens. So there's always an area of uncertainty, which is, I think, what I love in stand-up as well, that you can never be 100% sure what's going to happen. Right. And so I had 2 unfinished plays. One which is set in a speed dating night, where people get locked into the room and everything comes out about the people, and that would involve the audience as well being stuck there at round tables as if you're on speed dating, and the characters move from table to table while they tell their stories. And it was quite an ambitious project, and I just was digging up the notes for that last week because I was thinking about it again. And the other one was completely different, and it was based around the concept of mikveh. But not in a kind of holy play for Jews. This was very much a mainstream show, and it's about people and their experiences, just a group of women, very, very diverse women, whose lives intersect via a visit at different times to this one particular mikveh. And some of it is individual, some of it is duologues. That's very, very, and there's a narrator who's the balanit of the mikveh. She's like the narrator of the show. And it also incorporates the audience a bit. It involves film a bit, and I had got very far in the writing of it, and it came about because I was thinking about writing something. I put out a little questionnaire about it, and the questionnaire went viral, and I started to be inundated with people's stories.
How long ago you had the questionnaire?
This must have been around 2014, 15.
Oh, wow.
I started writing it there. I'd started writing it, I had my characters, but I didn't know if there would be like a call for people to hear those stories. But it was really interesting to me how people wanted to share their experiences, positive, negative, neutral, of what it was like talking to people in the waiting room, what it's like to be in the water, out of the water. And it's something that people really don't know about outside the community at all.
I was just going to say, the men are going to be shocked when they see that, I'm sure. But
now, there was a show in the UK based around mikveh for men, and it was a secular show, and it had a massive, I went to see it with a friend, it had a massive hot tub on the set, like this enormous hot tub, and to our shock and amazement, they did it in a very realistic way, immersing in that water. And it was a bit like being at SeaWorld, where every time they jumped in, if you're in the front row, you got splashed.
Oh my God. So you started.
It sounds disturbing.
It does sound disturbing.
It was unforgettable. I could tell the religion of the actors.
This was happening in sort of 2014, and then you said you didn't expect your comedy, your stand-up career to take off. So tell us about how your stand-up career, and especially I want to talk about your first show, which is It's No Job for a Nice Jewish Girl.
Yeah, which is what everybody says about comedy. So I always loved comedy, and I've run a comedy club for a long time. I directed comedy, I wrote it, I wrote for other people, I worked with them on their material, and it was the sort of thing over the years, I dabbled a minute here, a minute there. If somebody didn't show up to do something, I could fill in. And then within the Jewish community, I would often be a speaker or performer at events. So that was kind of my outlet for comedy. But I just, I think it was in 2015, I started to find that when I worked with other people on their stuff, I would come back and I'd say to my husband, you know what, I sometimes feel like I'm giving words to other people that I could say myself. And he was like, yeah, we've been waiting for you to realize that for quite a long time, and started encouraging me to just go out. I just thought, well, I'll give it a proper go. And I had two options at that point. I could have contacted all the people who I've worked with already and said to them, listen, you know, I know how to do material, you know, I know how to perform, just book me on your night and just like jump the queue to get there. But I thought, actually, if I'm going to do it properly, I really want to do it properly. So I went right back to square one, and I started doing open mic nights, like the horrible, disgusting venues with like 18 people on the lineup, all doing like 3 to 5 minutes. And you know, it's really important to be bad before you get good.
So did you bomb? Did you bomb it sometime?
and I can still bomb now. Like it doesn't ever go
How does
away.
that feel? Isn't it? What does it feel like to bomb?
Do you know what? It depends why. That for me, I can't speak for anyone else. If
It's
I
always,
feel
it's always
like
the audience's fault, isn't it?
no, absolutely not. But sometimes yes. I think it depends on if I feel like, do you know what, I gave it 100%, but the chemistry between me and them didn't work. Then I accept that, because I don't like every comedian I go and see, and that's, you know, it's okay for people to not like me. If I've done a bad job, if I know I came on, I was low energy, or I forgot something, whatever, then it's like totally on me and I can't get up in the morning. And then sometimes, you know, it's impossible to work out. It's part of the course, and it's whatever job you do, you can have an off day. Hopefully not if you're like a heart surgeon or something, but
I think it's a little bit harder in comedy because you're already putting yourself out there. It's you know, in your job, it's your job and it's your capabilities. And
right.
I think in theatre as well as in comedy, it's really a very personal thing. So it can be really tough.
I guess for me, the difference is, having done both, is that in theatre, you're somebody else and you're saying somebody else's words, and you're using your personal experience to convey someone else's material fully, usually, unless it's a solo piece, obviously. And with stand-up, usually, and certainly for me, I'm not that great an actress. Like, I have to depend on reality. I'm an observational stand-up. So it's really me. So if they don't like something, that's me telling them a story about me that they haven't liked. So you just have to learn to kind of accept that that's it. Luckily, more often than not, it's okay.
Well, I want to share a clip of you doing the next solo show, which you managed to do I guess sort of initial shows, and then when you wanted to do the tour, then again Corona got in the way and stopped that from coming. But let's just.
I'm very excited to see what you've picked.
The survivalist one. So I'm gonna.
Okay.
Here we go. So this is, let's see. So that is your show, Hineni. And here we go is the section.
I'm watching a show called Doomsday Preppers, right? About people who are expecting some kind of apocalypse, and they store loads of food and they store loads of drinks and water in the event that something might happen. And people come in and judge them on whether they've got enough to survive a year. And I thought, that is just every Jewish family I know. And the people who judge us are the other Jewish families who come into our homes. And if I had less than a year's worth of food at any moment in my cupboard, I think I would feel very uncomfortable, if I'm brutally honest. I mean, one of my friends actually asked me, what is it with you and food and the storage? And I said, I can only assume, growing up with my grandparents, it's to do with the Nazis, right? You know, you're always worried that the Nazis are going to come. And if they do, you want to offer them something nice, right? Because you want to be polite. And it's 2020, isn't it? So if they did come and you had to offer them food, you first have to check if they have any allergies or intolerances. I mean, we know they had at least one intolerance.
Amazing.
I said that so fast. I don't know if anyone could understand the word I was saying there. People were really surprised at that show, Hineni, because I talk about my grandparents who were German refugees, and the fact that in the back of my mind always have this worry that the Nazis are going to come, the Nazis are going to come. And often when I was performing the show in Edinburgh, you could see some people were thinking she's exaggerating that. And I would ask everyone in the room, so if you've ever been told, and I'd sort of go through these things like, you know, keep your passport nearby, and you see all the people put their hands up. If you remember being told you have to marry in, otherwise you're doing Hitler's job for him, and then you'd see people put their hands up. And then, you know, it was just really interesting that it's such a common thread amongst European Jews, but really nobody else. So yeah, that was quite.
So was that show really about Hineni? Here I am, right?
Yeah. Behold, here I am.
Sorry.
It's really, it's more like behold, here I am. It's
behold,
a very
here I am. I'm sorry, it's got to be that commanding sort of. Okay. And what was that centered around? How did you? Because you do a third show as well. Of Pay It Forward. So I'm trying to see how do you build a comedy show? What do you build it around a theme? Do you build it around how do you do it?
So because my background is theatre, I think I like to have a narrative and an arc and a story, whereas other people just tell jokes. And so my first show, It's No Job for a Nice Jewish Girl, was really about the fact that I've done loads of quite unconventional things for a religious woman, and that's always been kind of my path. And my second one was about accepting yourself and being present and accepting the different complicated things that make you, sort of just embracing that. Yeah. So in that show, which hopefully I will get to revisit, because you know, this is supposed to be the year of my big UK tour of Hineni. Then next year going to America and Australia with No Job for a Nice Jewish Girl, coming to Israel with Hineni. Like I had all these plans. Who knows what will happen anymore. So yeah, so and both, yeah,
that's all. It'll still happen, I'm sure of it.
Yeah, I hope so. But both of them also feature quite a lot about my grandparents, because both sets of my grandparents were a very big influence on me. They both, in terms of how they adapted to life in the UK and how they related to us as their grandchildren, and we spent an awful lot of time with them. So I think they're, and also because my German grandparents in particular really encouraged me in theatre and music, because German Jews were very, very cultured. Right. So even though they didn't have a lot of money, they would save it up to take their grandchildren to the theatre, to the ballet, to the opera, to whatever, because it was important to them. So I feel like I owe them a big debt for who I am today and what I'm doing now. Absolutely. And those shows, Pay It Forward, also, it's a progression really from the other two. It's the show I would have been doing in Edinburgh this year. Right. And I'm thinking that I might actually combine Hineni and Pay It Forward and just have a show that's Hineni, I'm Still Here. And that was a little bit more about when you try and help people, like no good deed goes unpunished. I think the second show, Hineni, was like about shining a light on things, and Pay It Forward was about how people try and help you and things go wrong, and how I often try and help people and I get over involved, and then it always crashes down around my ears, and then reflect.
Like your social care background kicking in.
Probably, yeah. Probably. And also I have a medical condition, which I talk about in Hineni, and I talk about a bit more in Pay It Forward, about an experience I had when people tried to cure me and the different things they tried to make me well, and what their motivation might have been for that. And part of it is going to be blessed by a big, you know, Gadol Hador, a big Chacham, like this Tzaddik who came to England, and a very good friend of my parents arranged for me to receive a blessing from him for a Refuah Shalema. And I'm not superstitious like that. So about what that experience did, and it's funny. I mean, these are serious subjects, but it's comedy, and absolutely, it makes everything's more bearable if you can laugh at it.
I agree 100%. Yeah. 100%. Yeah. Yes, we need to laugh at it. Please go, we're going to make a lot of comedy about Corona and everything that's going on, and the governments and everything that's the absolute mess up that is happening in our world today. We need to laugh about it and to recognize. But I want to end off because on something very important that you're doing, which is your weekly podcast, which is something similar, I guess, to what we're doing, but in a very different realm. You're talking more about, I was talking about a show that you co-host with Philip Simon. Yes. Called You Talking to Me.
Yeah, I'm loving how you're pronouncing it because you're doing it correctly.
Am I? Oh, that's great. Yay. So I'm going to show some people just a little bit about it.
I can't wait for the next one.
Yeah, and I'm definitely going to be joining the podcast. It's really interesting about you talking to all these actors and directors like we do, but on the subject of being Jewish. And so this is just a little introduction, and it's really short, and then we'll bring Nitzan back on to chat with everyone.
Okay.
So hang tight. Here we go. And
preppers, right?
Okie dokie. Oh no. Select your pray forward. So this is Jude talking to me.
Yeah.
And here is, I'm just going to play a little part of the intro so that you can hear what it's all about.
Hello, I'm Rachel Creeger.
And I'm Philip Simon.
And this is Jew Talking to Me, the comedy podcast that features everything you need to know about being Jewish.
Being Jewish.
Or if you're just wondering about the correct pronunciation of the word Bagel.
It's bagel. There'll be great chat, good jokes, and a faint aroma of salt beef sandwiches.
Each week we'll be joined by two guests sharing their unique perspectives on being 21st century Jews.
On Yom Kippur, are they fast in or fast out?
We'll chat about their favourite family foods and their favourite family feuds.
And we'll answer the question, if laughter is the best medicine, why do we need chicken soup?
We'll chat to writers.
Before we get into all the writers and directors and whatever, it just gives us a nice background of what you're doing. So that's great. Thank you for letting us get to know you a little bit better, Rachel. And I'm going to bring Son back on as he's drinking his power drink. So this...
Just to share that for that show, we interviewed Doris Schwartz from Fame, like the actress Valerie Landsberg.
No!
She was in last week's episode. So that's still up wherever you get your podcast, Spotify, iTunes, whatever. If you want to hear us chatting to Valerie Landsberg with Boyd Hilton, who's the editor of Heat magazine, which is a big entertainment magazine in the UK, talking about their Jewish upbringing, their favorite foods, what schools they went to, all that stuff. It's such a silly show, but as we're all Fame fans, I can tell you that I fangirled to an embarrassing degree watching that show. And I told our producer that his one job, like never mind the script, never mind the timing, is I am not allowed to look like a fool in front of this woman who was like my idol.
Well, I love that. I love that you can still freak out about your favorites. And I understand I also grew up on Fame, so completely. So these questions, and I'm sorry I'm rushing through it because we just have the 10 minutes left. They're 10 questions. They're based on the Bernard Pivot, Marcel Proust questionnaire that James Lipton used to tremendous popularity in his The Actors Studio. We haven't chosen the same questions, but it's meant to reveal a little bit more about your nature. So we're going to ask you these questions, answer whatever comes to mind, and we'll see where it leads us. Just quickly, whatever comes. So go on, take it off, lead it.
First question, which will go to Rachel. Okay. What is your idea of perfect happiness?
Perfect happiness? Oh, being with my family on a beach for about 10 minutes and then being on a stage.
Nitzan, what about you?
Perfect happiness is a good schluck.
A good schluck. All right, gotcha. Nitzan, what is your favorite word?
Love.
Love. Rachel.
Oh, that's such a hard question. I don't know. I like I like English words that sound Yiddish, like bereft.
Bereft. I like that.
Next question to Nitzan.
Yes.
Which performer do you most admire?
Danny Kaye.
Danny Kaye, absolutely. I knew it, damn it.
Hello.
Rachel, what about you?
Victoria Wood. I don't know how well known she is to you guys. An amazing. Unfortunately, she passed away a couple of years ago, but a comedian and writer. Yeah, I love her.
I've seen her and I've heard of her, and she was amazing. So,
next question. What do you consider the most overrated virtue, Rachel?
Oh,
I love this deer in the headlight kind of look.
No, because they're such interesting questions. Most overrated virtue, maybe patience.
Okay.
Overrated.
I love it. I love it. Nitzan, what about you?
Beauty.
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 Interesting.
Okay.
Interesting. All right, Nitzan. On what occasion do you lie?
Wow.
And this is being recorded.
When I want the listener to truly be happy.
Okay. Okay. Rachel?
I'm a really terrible liar. Like I give it away the whole time. So I guess I'm not really a liar, but I sometimes exaggerate.
Okay.
That's okay.
That is the ultimate Jewish virtue.
Next question. Which natural gift would you most like to possess?
Rachel.
Rachel.
Oh, I'd like to be athletic.
Athletic. Nitzan?
Natural gift?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. So it depends on what you regard as a gift, but I guess peaceful.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll go with that.
Not sure if that's a natural gift, but peaceful dash talented.
Nitzan, what's your favorite
you,
possession? Your most treasured possession?
It was this gorgeous crystal until the little kitty pushed it over and it cracked in two.
Oh.
So she taught me to be very zen-like and
let it go. Oh man. That's
Rachel?
I've got my tatty old bunny from when I was a kid, like my stuffed toy from when I was little, that now looks like something from a horror film. It's been loved to death.
I love that.
Next question. Which word or phrase do you most overuse?
Rachel.
Oh, like. Say like. I can't bear it. I edit it out on the podcast. That's the best thing. I wish I could edit myself in real life.
Is that a word you mostly overuse, or you just hate hearing it?
Both.
Both.
Both. But I hear myself say it and basically, I hear myself say them in the podcast the whole time. And thankfully, with audio, you can get rid of it. When we used to do it all as video, it was harder.
Yeah, we do it live now, so it's like,
yeah,
I get you. You're lucky you can edit it out.
Nitzan,
Nitzan, what about you?
I happily overuse the word love. My mother used to say, enough with the love, enough with the love.
Never enough with the love, mother, never enough.
It's
Love
so one
away.
up. I like, he loves.
There you go.
Lovely, lovely. What do you most value in your friends? Rachel.
Honesty.
Yep.
Nitzan?
Compassion.
Compassion. Amen.
Wow. Very cool.
Last one, guys. Take a deep breath. Okay. Nitzan, if you were to die and come back as a person or thing, who or what would it be?
Who or what would it be? It would be a microphone.
Microphone. Okay. Any specific reason?
That literally just came out.
Okay.
That one.
A microphone. Rachel, you're biting your lip going, oh, what?
I was thinking probably a mobile phone so that my kids spend more time with me.
Oh.
Good one. Excellent one.
That's lovely.
Oh, wow. This has been such an incredible hour for us. And do we have any questions from the audience? I think that if you have any questions now, please feel free to put it in the chat. Or if you want to just wave a hand and say, I have a question, please let us know. Anyone? We're all good? Okay.
I see Isabel asked a question.
No, but I already asked it.
Oh, you've answered it. Okay.
We're so good. We already asked
Right
these
on the
questions. Guys, it's been absolutely tremendous to have you on Q.
We look forward to having you here, Rachel.
Yes, and to have you on our stage.
And Nitzan again.
And Nitzan on our stage.
Of course, anytime.
And of course, guys, that you joining us. Thank you once more for joining us and sharing this time with us. And we look forward to welcoming you back at Center Stage and just welcome you back next week when we have more guests. Just keep coming, keep connecting, keep being together, and this will pass and we'll be good. And it's all
It'll be okay. It'll be okay. Keep the spirit going.
I must add, on behalf of many an audience, how highly appreciative we all are of you and your commitment.
I agree.
Thank you, guys. All these thumbs up now. I'm getting all like, thank you. And I've got Aviva here who says, thanks, Aviva Preston, not Reston. Hey, Rachel. Aviva Nee Weingarten says hi to mom and say hi to mom and dad for me. So you got that comment.
That's the most Jewish thing that could possibly happen, isn't it? Really?
I love it.
Thanks,
Thank you so
Aviva.
much, everyone. Good night, everyone. Take care. And again, our thanks to Rachel and to Nitzan. And thank you to you for being here. We love you all. We miss you all. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much.